much. Commissioner Epps will lead us.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to pray with you all. Let us pray. Dear eternal and merciful God, we say thank you. God, we thank you for your presence in this place. God, we thank you for your presence in our lives. God, we come to you to ask in the sincerest way, God, that you would be with us today. God, guide these decision makers as they lead our county. Father God, guide their minds, their thoughts. God, we pray for the people of this community, that we all can be better people in your sight. God, we pray that every decision that's made here today, every conversation that goes on today, God, is for the betterment of our community. We thank you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Raise the flag. Salute and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May be
All
seated.
right. Supposed to be War Eagle, though. That's all right.
I don't know if we have any public comments or not. I don't have the sheet. Beth, do we have any public comments? Okay. All right. I want to thank the cable TV for being here this morning, as they always are, and for the Phoenix Citizen News. Linda Copeland is here to report. We always welcome you. And I want to welcome elected officials, all department heads who are with us this morning, any guest, and I thank you for being here and being interested in your government. Vicki, will you call the roll, please?
District 1 Lee.
Present.
District 2 Pugh.
Present.
District 3 Martin.
Here.
District 4 Reed.
Here.
District 5 Epps.
Here.
District 6 Corbett.
Here.
District 7 Scruggs.
Here.
Quorum has been established.
Thank you. We do have a set of 2 minutes, approval of minutes for 2 meetings, rather. One was July 14th, a called meeting, and then on July 22nd. I'm asking, can we take these both together?
Without objection, we can.
Does anybody object to that? Hearing none.
Motion to approve both.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion? Thank you. Vicki, will you poll?
District 1 Lee.
Yes.
District 2 Pugh.
Yes.
District 3 Martin.
Yes.
District 4 Reed.
Yes.
District 5 Epps.
Yes.
District 6 Corbett. District 7 Scruggs. Pass unanimously.
Thank you. We have one proclamation today, and it's a posthumous proclamation in memory of Mr. Willie Carl Jenkins, Jr., which Commissioner Corbett will read, and we want to ask the family.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Vicki's being mean to me this morning. She's making me read this, and I don't know that I'm going to be able to, so we're going to try that. Tim and Nancy and Paige and Miss Pat and Chuck are here. If y'all come down to the front, I'm going to put you right on the center stage. So as they're coming down, I mentioned on Monday night, I think most of the commissioners either knew Carl or knew of him. Carl I consider to be a really good friend, and he's done so much for this county prior to his recent passing. Those of you that don't know, Carl owned an ambulance service in this county for years. He was actually appointed coroner when Leslie Vance vacated that position and served that until the new election came around. He was a deputy coroner even prior to that. I actually went on calls with the coroners with him several times. And something I missed and I still left out, Tim, is he was actually elected constable in the county, which is, is a position that doesn't have a lot of duties, but it's, again, an elected official position. So I worked with Carl for years in my younger days, and in fact, being one of the first paramedics in the county, I wasn't old enough to drive the ambulance. Carl had to drive me around. So there's a lot of good things he did for this county, and Crawford Fire Department's his shining gem. He helped found that place. He was on the board up to his death. He was the chief, and now Tim, his son, is the chief. So I felt it fitting to recognize him with a proclamation this morning and ask the commission to approve that. So I'm going to try to read this. Vicki, like I said, Vicki's making me do it, so I'm going to try to do my best to read it. So. Whereas Mr. Willie Carl Jenkins, Jr., better known as Carl or Willie Carl, was a lifelong resident of Russell County, Alabama, and whereas during a wonderful 55 years of marriage, Carl and his wife, Pat, were blessed with 2 sons, Chuck and Tim, and were later blessed with 1 beautiful granddaughter, Paige, and whereas After graduating from Auburn University with a bachelor's degree in business administration, Carl had a very successful career which included working at several local businesses to include Curvin's Department Store, Royal Crown Cola, and Lithochrome, where he retired in 2001. And whereas as a dedicated servant to the citizens of the Crawford community of Russell County, Carl Jenkins helped establish the Crawford Volunteer Fire Department. There he served as a firefighter, paramedic, and fire chief until passing the torch to his own son, Tim. Carl continued to serve as a member of the board for the Crawford Volunteer Fire Department until his death. And whereas, always eager to serve, Carl served as a deputy coroner for Russell County Coroner Leslie Vance until 1993, when Carl was appointed by Governor Guy Hunt to serve as the Russell County coroner to fulfill an unexpired term. And whereas Carl owned and operated an ambulance service which provided life-saving emergency medical services and transportation for the sick and injured for Russell County and Phoenix City, and whereas throughout his wonderful life and right up until his death, without the promise of payment, reward, or personal gain, Carl Jenkins placed the needs of others as his priority, and working with a great group of Russell County citizens, responding to the calls for service. Therefore, we, the elected members of the Russell County Commission, hereby proclaim that it is our privilege and honor to approve this posthumous proclamation in an honest effort to recognize the great selfless service of such an outstanding citizen of Russell County, and we recognize that the Crawford community and Russell County as a whole will forever benefit from the tireless actions of Willie Carl Jenkins, Jr. And also we have Bob here represent, Bob, if you can represent the Fire Association. We have the sheriff as well. Jim is in the audience. He's the assistant chief at Crawford. So I think this is just a small piece of what we can do for what Carl did for the community and the county. So,
Yes.
Ms. Martin, if you'll give them, Beth's got them on the side down there.
Okay. We are so blessed to honor you all today in Meadville. And he gave 110% of himself to Russell County. And we share your grief at this time. And on behalf of the county commission, we have 3 proclamations that have been signed.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Under business items, we have District 6 Lyons Judge Harden.
Good morning, Commissioners. As we discussed the other day in the work session, in our efforts to redistrict the last time, we inadvertently moved the CVCC or the choice state box out of District 6, which makes those voters have to go to Crawford to vote. This is an effort in this first motion that I'd ask you to make, and is to move the area around CVCC, which is east of College Drive to 431, back into District 6.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we move the area between College Drive and Highway 431 into District 6 so that those voters can both go back to the same poll that they were voting at before.
I
Second.
second that, Madam Chair.
Okay, now discussion. Is there any discussion? The only thing I've heard is that the voters will be confused.
No, ma'am, this is where they've been voting the whole time. We're just going, we can't use the choice state spot anymore. We voted a couple of weeks ago, you did, to move it back to CVCC. They're going to be 500 feet from where they were before. We're going to send notice to them that they'll go back to the CVC
Okay.
place.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
before we do that, just discussion, that's why I was asking, hopefully we had it in writing, but
We
is
do, we
it
do. I
not,
gave it to
is it
you.
in writing? Okay, is it all the way around College Drive?
All the way around
Is that
College
road,
Drive.
does that continue to be College Drive all
It
the way
does,
down
all
to the
the way
Waffle
down.
House and all? Okay, good. Okay, I
You
wasn't
look at
sure,
the
I
map.
wasn't sure if the actual road name went all the way back. to
I've
the road.
attached a map
Okay.
as an
Yeah, I've got
exhibit
the map. Thank
so that it'll be very clear to anyone.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I just want to ask the judge, you think you can be able to run a notice in the newspaper?
Yes, sir, we're gonna run it in the newspaper, but we'll send each one of the voters in District 6 a notice that they can vote there. So they'll be duly notified.
And the good thing about this one is that's not changing. It's where they voted in the
That's where
past,
they've been
so
voting.
it's not really
I
a
mean, the only
change.
thing they're moving is from across the street from Troy State to CVCC.
Well, they're moving back to where they
They were for
used to
years.
vote. Yeah, I mean, so.
And just to refresh your memories, the only reason we did that to Troy State is because CVCC was constructing their new auditorium. And with the construction equipment and everything, we didn't have parking space.
Well, most people still called it CVCC anyway, so, I mean, it's not that much of it again, so, thank you.
Yes.
We need to remember this will require legislative approval.
Not this.
Not this
The-
one.
The next thing I'm gonna ask you to do, Will.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
District 1 Lee,
Yes.
District 2 Pugh,
Yes.
District 3 Martin,
Yes.
District 4 Reed,
Yes.
District 5 Epps.
Yes.
District 6 Corbett.
Yes.
District 7 Skrillex.
Yes.
Passed unanimously.
Commissioners, in 2014, we asked the legislature to pass a bill making this particular, well, giving us the authority to make any place a voting center, but it was for the purpose of this box, because Commissioner Screws has approximately 100 people who vote in this box as well. It was introduced, we advertised it, introduced, it went to committee and died in committee. I don't know why, because there's some other counties that had identical bills that passed. What I'd like to ask this body to do is to authorize me and Ms. Horn to re-advertise this, to try to get it in on the special session. And if we can't get it on the special session, which is coming up in September, have it ready to go into the regular legislative session in February. So I'm asking permission to go ahead and re-advertise, re-notify our legislative bodies and get it introduced.
Madam Chair, I offer a motion to allow the judge and Ms. Horn to begin work on this, moving, to get the legislature to approve this voting center.
Okay. Could that be just in the first motion, just
No, ma'am,
amended?
it has to be
It has to
separate
be
motion.
separate.
Separate, okay.
Because this
I'll
takes,
second that
this
motion.
does take legislative.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes.
I noticed this item's not on the agenda, so I'm not sure it's legal or not. But, as long as this pertains just to this one box, I'll vote for it. But I will not be in favor of what we tried years ago and doing it countywide. Because we have problems even in some of the boxes where they have split ballots. It's getting the right ballots to the right people and they get confused. So as long as this just pertains to this one box, I'm in favor of it.
You would have to come back and approve it for other boxes. This is just for this box.
I understand.
So
Yes.
once we get the legislation commissioners, we come back and approve for just this box.
Just so, and the judge kind of touched on it, but I want to clear it up just a little bit more if anybody's watching and in the audience. The reason this is happening is because we redistricted after the last election,
That's correct.
2012. And some of the people that were in District 6 are now in District 7, and they always voted at CV Troy.
That's correct.
So now those same people, if this passes, will still be able to vote at
Vote in
CV
that
and
same-
Troy
that same-
without having to drive several miles to go to another polling place.
That's correct.
Thanks.
Okay.
District 1 Lee.
Yes.
District 2 Pugh,
Yes.
District 3 Martin.
Yes.
District 4 Reed,
Yes.
District 5 Epps.
Yes.
District 6 Corbett.
Yes.
District 7 Skrillex.
Yes.
Passed
Thank you.
unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, next is the application for certificate of exception. Mr. Bill Friend.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I was asked to bring this request for exception before the County Commission. It was submitted through the Health Department, and Mr. Burrell submitted it through the Chairman, Ms. Martin, to be brought before the County Commission. A gentleman living in Fort Mitchell area, Christopher A. Crary, has requested, he's also a resident of Fort Mitchell, and he's in the military. He has requested that he receive an exemption to policy to transport his garbage to either Georgia or Fort Benning. The application said to solid waste place in Georgia. So, and if this exception is passed, we have to, solid waste officer and the health department both have to monitor and make sure that he empties his garbage or his can is emptied every 7 days. If not, then there's some type of action that we have to take. One of them is taken to court, so.
Mr. Freeman, would you be, I know there's not a motion on the table, but would you be as kind to explain why he would want to take his garbage to another district?
Yes, sir. In the letter, he explained that he does not accumulate enough garbage that he feels that should be picked up first. And what he does accumulate, he feels that he can recycle or does recycle. So he accumulates no household type garbage at his house. Everything that he has is recyclable.
Where does, he recycles it himself?
He takes it to a recycling place.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
so that I can explain my motion, I'm going to make a motion to approve the exception, and so I can talk just a second in discussion if it gets a second. Maybe it don't get a second.
I'll second it since
Thank
it's in
you.
my district, 'cause I really don't know what's going on.
Thank you. Madam Chair,
Yes.
Don't make no
the
sense.
reason, typically, I don't see a lot of good reasons to do something like this, but he keeps mentioning recycling, and as Carl knows, I'm been doing everything I can to keep pushing. Let's find an ability, and the market's just not allowing us to do that much in the county. We started it and had to back out, but because we don't offer recycling, I think if somebody is making an honest effort to recycle, and they've gone through all the steps, and now it's upon us to make to approve for them to be able to recycle in this case, then I think we ought to approve it in this case. Now, if the person starts burning his garbage or whatever, then the police department, sheriff's office, Bill, whoever are going to have to, and the fire department's going to have to take note of that. But I think we're in a world now where there's a lot of emphasis on recycling and green and all of that. And if we don't offer that ability to them, if they're trying to do it, I don't think we should deny them for it.
And this application is also just good for 12 months. Has to be brought back every year.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
Madam Chairman,
I got a couple of questions. I'm concerned about starting something that would be unfair to the rest of the community to have to pay. Just because you recycle, I know lots of folks that recycle, go around and pick up stuff out of other people's garbage and recycle. That's not a reason to be exempt. And, if he's saying he's gonna take his garbage to another district, that tells me he's got garbage. And he's part of this community, and everybody should be treated the same.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
do we have the personnel to monitor?
That's my question.
The solid waste officer, yes.
Madam Chair?
Yeah, wait a minute, let me ask the solid waste officer, is he here?
That's me.
That's him.
Do you have just one?
Well, no, Gary is also,
Okay, so two,
and Carl.
3, 4,
3.
3. Okay. So you're saying you do have the personnel to monitor?
You got time?
We do have it to monitor. We have the personnel to monitor.
Do you have the time?
I mean, we make time, but we know. And also the health department has to do it periodically.
I don't know of an employee, if we ask them if they have time, they're going to admit that they have time.
Well, but that's,
So-
Madam Chair, but that's what
Yes.
it boils down to, and that's what my question was gonna be. Why should we spend, county resources that are already in short supply for one person to break the law and not pay the garbage fee? I mean, it's a mandatory law in Russell County. That's the reason we have garbage. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't wanna do it, but they do.
I agree.
So, right now, I'm not paying it because nobody's living in my place, but within a month or two, somebody may be there and I'll have to start paying it. And I could easily carry that little garbage to town.
Madam Chairman, we need to be mindful now. We do this for one, we're gonna have to do it for all, because we're setting ourselves up for a lawsuit. And I'm not gonna support it.
Call for
My
question.
concern-
Oh, go
yes.
ahead.
Madam Chair, my concern that is, how can we prove that he is going to take this? We're saying that they're going to monitor, right? But we really can't prove that he's going to be taking it across the river, because he really could be taking it next door to his neighbors and put it in their garbage if he have that small amount. of garbage. So-
We may do something that's unprecedented, the motion and the second actually vote against something.
Well, that's not unprecedented, it's happened before.
But if
if
we,
you look
but
at
what
the,
I'm saying is, and it's comical to us now as we discuss it, but when we start doing this, we're going to have to think about, well, who else going to say, we don't want to pay our garbage bill? So we're going to find somewhere to take it somewhere else. So I did second it, because for the simple reason, we need to have a discussion.
I agree.
Because you second something doesn't mean you agree with it. You want to discuss it. And, we had something similar to this several years ago, and I was wondering, was this the same gentleman? And he lived on Sweetwater Branch Road. And his concern was that he didn't have enough garbage to bring to the street for the garbage to pick up, for it to be picked up by our garbage service. And if I think I can remember, we did not exempt him from the garbage.
right, we get, Ms. Epps, we get probably 25 to 30 cases every month where we're given a list from Mr. Carrington of people that feel that they should not have to pay their garbage bill because they do not accumulate enough garbage. The bad thing about it is the law says that you have to empty your garbage can every 7 days, regardless if it's full or 2 pieces of paper or whatever. It just says it has to be emptied every 7 days.
So are we going to break the law?
This is specifically wrote up for an exception. That is in the law.
Calls
so
the
it can
question,
be
it's not
done.
gonna pass.
It's not gonna pass.
Are we
Who
ready
asked for
to
the
vote?
exception? Ms. Fran,
Yes.
did he approach you and ask for the exception, or is this something that y'all come up with to accommodate him?
No, my understanding, according to the packet, and we've done some more in-depth research on it, he called the sanitation department and said that he was not going to pay for his garbage anymore. And he was transporting his own garbage to Georgia. That automatically set it off to where Gary and I got involved, and we wrote him a 10-day citation because he was behind, or excuse me, a 10-day warning. He was behind on his bill, and give him 10 days, or we was going to take him to court. Also, he's transporting garbage in the state of Alabama, which is also against the law. So we give him a warning for that. At that time, he got with talked to the sanitation department and got with the health department, went through 22-27-3 and 423-5, which states that you may put in for an exception, transporting your garbage. And he went through the health department, done the proper procedures. Mr. Burrell did the paperwork, and then it has to come to the county commission. And that's what we're doing here right now.
Has the paperwork been properly submitted?
Yes, sir, it has.
Has the health department approved it?
No, sir, health department cannot approve it. It has to, health department receives it and submits it. If, say for example, if it's approved at this time, if it was approved,
At this commission meeting?
at the commission would approve it. At that time, Mr. Burrell would then have to set up a meeting with the gentleman, explain to him that he has to identify a route from where he's going, from his house to where he's transporting it to. He would also have to have an estimated time when that would be transported. It would also have to be in a sealed, leak-proof container. All this has to be checked before even this is approved, then it leaves here. Health department then does that.
But no one monitors it.
Right, well, it says we are supposed to monitor to ensure that he is complying with.
I don't see how you monitor it.
I'm sorry I made this motion, to be honest.
I am too, because it would've died, it was just
We could
about
have
to
been moving
die.
on.
Yeah, let's just
Shall
call.
we vote, please?
District 1 Lee,
No,
District 2 Pugh,
No.
District 3 Martin,
No.
District 4 Reed,
No.
I
District
feel
5,
so comfortable to say no.
District 6 Porter,
No.
District 7 Scruggs.
No.
Madam Chairman, Madam Chairman, I want to tell you, be a friend, don't bring nothing like this to the
All right,
commission no
next
more.
is the county administrator.
I don't have a choice, I have to bring it here.
We have a budget amendment under county administrator.
Get the can of ball
This is
down
for the
in one
sanitation
eye.
department, and Carl is
job.
coming down to do it.
Okay.
Chance's fault.
What'd you say? Chance's fault. No, we needed to talk about it. We talked about it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Vote on anything.
I have
It's our
the
job.
budget amendment. We would like to ask y'all if we decrease line 172, which is landfill charges, 45,600, and decrease the fuel and lubricants 21,000, and that's a total of $66,600. It's going to be spread between line 215, which is tires, 219 is miscellaneous, 234 vehicle repair, 211 is office supplies, 307 professional service, 611 will be principal, 612 is interest, and 316 is record service. And that 66 will be spread among those to last us for 7 weeks to get through the budget. I had 2 items that came up short, and where we just didn't put enough money in them, so. Motion to approve.
Second, Madam
Okay.
Chairman.
Have a second?
I have one question about the
Okay.
line item increase in 307, professional services. Would you explain those services, please?
Yes, sir. They put a part-time person in the office, and they're paying it from West Staffing because of the cans and all the increase that we have. The office could not handle the extra workload, and it's to pay that person out of
Why
that.
should it be under professional services instead of under?
I did not do that. I don't know. I don't know why.
It confuses me at the table when you say professional services to me. I'm looking for like maybe attorney fees, something of that nature.
Mr. P, can I help with that? That's
Sure.
what the auditors tell us, that if you have a part-time person, that you put it under, in a contract with them.
Contract services.
It's
right?
contract.
Contract services.
They're not an employee, they are contracted.
Contract service.
It says other professional, but is that
Yeah.
contract services?
Contract service.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
District,
I'm okay with it. I
Okay.
said you answered my question.
District 1 Lee.
Yes.
District 2 Pugh.
Yes.
District 3 Martin.
Yes.
District 4 Reed.
Yes.
District 5 Epps.
Yes.
District 6 Corbett.
Yes.
District 7 Scruggs.
Yes. I had a question for Mr. Carrington, but he got away. Mr. Carrington,
Carl?
your transfer station is allowing you to make the change for the landing dump charges. That's the savings that you're getting? Yes, when we started, it was $510,000 a year, that we paid to the other service where we took started. We're not even at 200,000 now. Right. Okay, right.
Parks and Rec. Are you gonna take that, Mr. Thomas?
I will. The contract you have is the one that was modified based on the work session Monday. So it contains what you discussed, and if you're ready to vote, the contract is in line with what you discussed.
Motion to approve.
Second, Madam Chairman.
Okay, now we have discussion.
I'm just trying to finish reading it real quick.
Questions?
Just Commissioner Scruggs and I, I'm just put on talking down here.
They was being bad in class.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just to state for the folks in the audience and are watching, this is a one-year contract for the new Parks and Rec director, and the salary will be $45,000, which is the top, it's within what was advertised, and the top of the line due to his education and experience. Thank you.
District 1 Lee.
Yes.
District 2 Pugh.
Yes.
District 3 Martin.
Yes.
District 4 Reed.
Yes.
District 5 Epps.
Yes?
District 6 Corbett.
Yes.
District 7 Scruggs.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Attorney, do you have anything to add?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Your personnel items report that Carolyn has given to us is in your packet. And we do have several announcements, which is on the back of your agenda. Today at lunch, the Extension Office is having a Commissioner's Appreciation Luncheon at 11:30. And tomorrow, our Congressman, Mike Rogers, will be having Congressman on the corner, and he'll be meeting here in the Commission chambers, 2 o'clock Eastern Time till 3 o'clock. And also, your commission body will be attending the annual commission conference down at Perdido Beach next week. So we'll be out of pocket for that time. Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
We adjourn.
Chance,
Hey, man.
30 minutes.
You know, county